Guys, Calvin here from Young and Wildly Successful and Amplified Business Coaching. We have the one and only Jojo Botting with us from Driven to Impact. Joe, it is so good to have you here. Thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you.
Guys, this is going to be a really special interview. As you know, I actually just get a bit emotional just thinking about it. As you know, we work with a lot of people around the world, about 130,000 now in 74 countries. And last year we ran a program called 1515, which was very successful. And I don't know when this was. Do you remember what month?
Yeah, it was May because I flew back from Thailand 1st of May.
Right. So in around about May, we were just about to have a new, because we at that point in time we were doing it every month, and just about to do this, a new 1515 for the start of the month, and I decided to put a shout out up on Facebook for scholarships. The program was about $500 back then, and we decided, look, you know, there's plenty of people that we were speaking to that legitimately didn't have the resources at that time to be able to make it happen, and we wanted to make this accessible as possible, and so we decided to put a call out, and I said that we would give away 10 scholarships. And then what happened was I got a video from Joe, and I'll let her tell the rest of the story, but I got a video from Joe and I ended up becoming a blubbering mess, and she started the program and we haven't been able to get rid of her since. But she's literally done everything that we have at Young and Wildly Successful and Amplify. 1515, the 10K challenge, has then gone and done retreats, has done self-mastery with us and leadership. I lead the movement, and then alchemy as well. If there's a client, we've got a lot of really great case studies, but if there's a client that I'm proudest of, it has to be Joe, because I mean that because there's plenty of clients that we work with that start with a footing that, let's be fair, and as inspiring and as touching as your story is, the reality is we both know people that are living in countries where we would never have these opportunities, right? Yeah. So if you live in Australia and you've got access to Wi-Fi enough to watch this video, you have enough skills and tools to be able to make something of yourself if you're willing to back yourself.
Yes.
But out of anyone that I've worked with that I can remember, you certainly started in the most challenging position when you got started in this game, and weren't looking for a handout, just a hand up and an opportunity to kick some goals. And just to see the leaps and bounds you've made with that, for me is inspiring, because a lot of people can shift their financial circumstances pretty quickly. You can make some money, you can get some clients under your belt, but it's shifting the psychology from being in a position where you have nothing to then having something. That takes sometimes a lot of people a long time to get over. I still remember an interview with Jay-Z. The guy's worth about $500 million now, but the interviewer asked him, they said, what motivates you? And he says, being broke. And he says, well, you're a long way from being broke. You haven't been broke in a long time. He says, yeah, but I still remember what it was like to be broke, and I don't ever want to be there again. And so here's someone that's mega successful, but was still sort of haunted by that. And I think you've done an amazing job at being able to shift out of that mindset. And I've been really inspired to be part of that journey with you as well. So, before I jump into it, Jo's an incredibly successful business owner. She coaches people in the marketplace today to help them find their passion and help them make a difference in people's lives. You know, the language around Driven to Impact is about her, but it's also about her clients as well. So if you're a business owner that can identify with Jo's message, you should definitely reach out. We'll put all the links and stuff in the video here, but helping people, you were just touching on this before about 5 big things you share.
Yeah. So regardless of how old you are, and I was saying to Cal that, sometimes as a mature person, you actually have way more valuable resources than somebody younger than
an immature person.
And so, it's so easy to look back on your life and quickly come up with a list of 5 things that you're able to write down where a situation that you've been through, or something that you've learned, or something that you've overcome yourself. And the realization that in this year in particular, people want to build a relationship with somebody. And in my post this morning, I was talking about, for example, if you've been through any type of situation, you're referred to a psychologist or psychiatrist for some reason. It takes time to build that relationship before that person may really dig deep and start sharing is.
Agreed.
Whereas imagine if you could connect with somebody online who is immediately telling their story, and that's the exact same situation you're either going through or you're facing, and there's that instant rapport where that person is able to then support and mentor other people, and the keyword, make an impact on other people's lives.
Yeah.
So, write down a list of 5 things that you've overcome or learnt in your lifetime, and there are people that need our help.
Yeah, big time. I think as well, it really starts with the courage to be able to share your own message to start with, because once you do that, then you give other people permission to do the same.
Yes.
And, it's amazing. If I think back at all the videos we've done, the videos that have had the biggest impact aren't the ones that we've marketed, but have been the ones that have been raw and real when I've been, losing my shit or about to break down into tears. They're the ones that live with people because they go, well, that's real.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of people, and we were just talking about this on the weekend, there's a lot of people that have a very polished message online, and that's good marketing. However, what it does is it doesn't allow room for people that you're engaging with your material or your content. It doesn't give them room to feel as though they could make it happen.
Exactly.
So it's inaccessible.
Yeah.
And you've got a fascinating business model as well. I laugh at the way that Joe runs business, because honestly, if there's anyone he's got the ability to hustle an opportunity out of thin air, it's Joe. And I think that's just that hustling mentality that you have to have in the beginning, right? But the funnel, we talk about how much money we spend on Facebook ads, and Joe's like, well, I do the same thing, but I do it via organic reach. And you've got a really interesting funnel. I'd like to talk a little bit about your business model, but talk about how we got started, where were you at, what was going on for you. It's an inspiring story. It's definitely one of those rags to riches stories. Share.
Okay, so when we first connected last year, I had just recently arrived back from Thailand. I was living in Thailand for a year and a half.
Yeah.
I was running my business over in Thailand, had just, life just deals us these cards, and everything just suddenly took a downward spiral for me. So I was talking to my girlfriend, quite emotional. She said, come home, which I did. So then it was all about the minute I landed, okay, right, so I've got a roof over my head. I arrived back in Australia with $400 to my name. Yep. Nowhere to live. So I was sleeping on the fold-out couch in my girlfriend's father's study.
Wow, okay, so your girlfriend's father's study's fold-out couch.
Yeah. No internet. Remember, I
remember you used to drive like 2 hours to the... Didn't you used to go to the business centre, and then that shut at 4 o'clock, and we had a webinar at 4:30, so you'd go to the pub and drink soda water?
Yeah, because they had free Wi-Fi. and a nice
nice roaring fire in the middle of Perth winter.
Yeah. So it was within maybe 2 or 3 weeks I saw your post about the scholarships, and for me, I knew that was the assistance that I needed, and the prerequisite was to record a video. So at this stage, I had got my car back actually, because that was in storage.
Full of everything that you had.
Full of everything. So living in my car and the couch, and so I went to all these different locations in Albany to record this video. And I don't know, can you remember how many times I cried? It was like 5
I don't know. I don't think I even saw the full video, because I reckon it was going to be 8 to 10 minutes long. And I've got 2 minutes in, and here I see Joe in a car, and I can see your entire world's possessions behind her in the back of this sedan. And honestly, I'm showing it to my partner at the time, and I'm just bawling my eyes out. But it was certainly a touching moment for us, because we don't often get the opportunity to really go, cool, this is something that we can really make a difference in.
Yeah.
And, credit to Joe as well, I have to say this. We had 10 people we gave that scholarship to, 10. I'm sitting with one person here today. And it's a simple example of that. Just because you get an opportunity doesn't mean you have the ability to seize it. And there was a lot of people that life just got in the way. Mind you, life gets in the way for people that pay money for the program that we run as well. So, it's one of those things where you certainly had to be hungry to make something happen. And there's nothing more motivating physically as well. Than $400 in your bank account to try and make it happen. And that's Perth, Western Australia, by the way. So just if you don't know, that gives you basically a croissant and a coffee at Perth for $400. There's not a lot of joy there as well. But let's look at the reality of that.
Okay.
Because, so put this into some perspective. You live in Albany, which is a hugely remote place in Western Australia. How big's the township there? How many people live in Albany?
Well, I was actually living in Denmark.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yes.
So Denmark has a population of about 5,000.
Okay.
And 45-minute drive to Albany, which has around about 100,000 population.
Okay, so that's pretty much your Facebook following today. But back then, so 100,000, 5,000, not millions. So you're living in Albany, you're driving to Denmark. How long's the commute?
45. Living in Denmark, driving to Albany, 45 minutes.
45 minutes.
Yeah.
And you would travel from your friend's dad's couch. You travel there to get the Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
To listen to our first morning call.
Yes.
Do the work during the day.
Yes.
Hustle appointments, and then move to a different building, get more free Wi-Fi, and sit by a couch and live it up with your free soda water.
Yeah.
And then you drive back every single day, and you did that for 15 days.
I did.
Now, I have to share, people always say, how long does it take to do this program? If you're not willing to drive 45 minutes to the call, hustle during the day on free Wi-Fi and sip on soda water, and then drive 45 minutes back, it's not about the amount of time. It shouldn't take you more than an hour or two a day. But if that's the level of commitment that I believe is standard that you should have, because otherwise you just simply don't want it bad enough. Like, we're fortunate, I get frustrated now if the Wi-Fi's down or if I'm slow to load my Netflix in the living room. Never mind if I had to drive 45 minutes. And I just love that ambition. In the 15 days, how did you go on 15-15?
In the 15 days, I created a new Facebook group.
Yep.
And I ended up with 1,500 and something people in the Facebook group over the 15 days.
That's huge.
Yeah.
That's massive.
Yeah.
And then you made some sales during that program, and then you did our 10K challenge as well. So we're skipping a little bit of the play here, but financially, what you had to just to hustle to pay off debts.
Yeah.
But what was the sort of the impact there?
With the result for the 10K challenge? So I did 15-15 July and August. So started getting traction that way. By the time August hit, I was getting income in. I did 17,500 in the 30 days of August.
Wow, that's huge. So standing start, 30K in August, that's incredible. And then took those concepts and those principles, and obviously you've now built Driven to Impact, right? Yeah. So you're obviously bare bones, $400 in the accounts back in May. And now we're not quite 18 months, just a little over 12 months later. You remind me sharing about the Voxer message?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I'm about to go into the gym a couple of days ago. It's probably about 2 weeks ago, I think. Yeah. And I got a message, and it was a one I hadn't seen for a while. But I got an audio message from Joe on Voxer, and it was that you just done your first 10K day.
Yeah.
So not in a month, in a day.
Yeah.
That's incredible, by the way.
Yes,
that's world class.
Thank
and
you.
I asked to do this interview with you, and you said you just done 5K a couple of days ago.
Monday.
Right, for yesterday.
Yeah, I've got another one tomorrow.
Phenomenal. So it's so easy though that we get to a point where we're starting to make big money, whether that be 10,000 a day or 5,000 in a day. Shit, 5,000 in a week or 10,000 a week is phenomenal, or even a month for a lot of people. But it's so easy that we just get used to that, and we forget that it was only 12 months ago that there was nothing, and we're living on the couch.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So talk to me about that journey of the last sort of 12 and a bit months, the highs and the lows, what your victories and your failures, and what you came up against. I'd just love to know more about that story, because everyone wants to hear about the 10K in a day, right? Everyone wants to hear about that. And we were even talking about this. I was living on the couch and had everything in the car, which is legit. And I might even see if I can try and find that old video. But I was living on the couch, and I was driving 45 minutes, and then I made $10,000 in a day. And people think that that's 2 days apart, when in fact it was 12 months in your case.
Yeah.
What were some of the highs, some of the lows, the moments where you thought it wasn't going to work, and the moments where you thought, fuck, I'm on top of the world?
Well, the whole 12 months has been a lot of highs and lows. And I think while the lows are an enormous struggle, they really, really are. And the important thing to make sure that you have or create is some kind of support network to help you through the lows.
Yes.
A great friend of mine, Samith, hey Sam, if you're watching, we're both individual business owners, but we meet once a fortnight for accountability.
Great.
So we make a list of what we need to achieve, and if we don't achieve it, we have to donate $50 to charity.
I like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, there's still been lows. For example, even though I did a 10K day a couple of weeks ago, and this week's going to be a 10K week,
Yeah.
I had no income whatsoever for the whole month of April.
Right.
February. Yeah, April.
April.
So then, you know, it's this whole emotional journey, which is the biggest struggle. And as we know, when you have an online business, you can go really well with clients, and then you get to the point where you're going, oh well, you know, I've got no client
You got
bookings.
to try and innovate, find a new way to get new people.
Yeah. So I think, and as I've said to you, the biggest win I've had is creating that residual income model.
Yeah.
So obviously life comes in the way for some clients, and some clients might drop off, etc., etc. But for me now, I have a really great base income weekly that I know is set in concrete for the next 12 months, and that's just gives me time to relax, gives me time to create, but it also gives me a lot of time to make a bigger impact, as you say. You know, it's not about the money, but it is.
Yes.
The more money we make, the more we can impact.
100%.
So with that frame of mind, it's like, okay, I can give everything now to the clients that I have, rather than continuously being on that hustle and cutting them short.
And guys, what Joe's sharing is so powerful, and you might think that the more money you make, the less that becomes a problem. It really isn't. So in our business model, if you look at what we do today, very different to what I did last year, and Joe's been with us for the full 12 months, so she understands this. Last year, it was the case of, you know, we would run our programs like self-mastery, for example, and Joe's done that program. I'll ask her to share some thoughts around that, but we'd run that program, and I've done 240,000 in a day. And so you're living on that moment and you're on top of the world. However, I might not make another dollar in personal development for 3 to 6 more months. So you then have this huge pop and you're like, oh my God, we got all this money. And then you're dealing with then getting that money in, and then you've got payment plans, but then you've got, you know, then you might have a decline for a couple of months before you went into that other pop again. So it's like a singer-songwriter has a big hit that gets number one. They got all this celebrity and stardom. You're like, wow, this is amazing. I've done 10,000. But then I've got to also keep in mind that there was a month just a couple of days ago where I didn't make a dollar, right? So it's really interesting. That's the reason why we changed our model, launching Alchemy online, and you know, we were able to grow that from 0 to about 12,000 a week coming in on direct debit. So 600,000 is not as much as what we're making last year, but it's stable. You know, there's such confidence for me knowing that, you know what, if I don't want to work today, I don't have to. And you know, it might be less money, but it's so much more freedom and flexibility as part of that. Talk us through your business model. You start off with, you know, some great front end trainings, and then you upgrade clients as well. Share about how you've created and crafted that, because none of that really existed, right, 12 months ago.
No. So 12 months ago, I was doing affiliate marketing and coaching. That's how my coaching business started. From there, people were seeing me getting results and asked me for help. From going through 15, so as I said, I did June, July, August, September, maybe October. No, I think
she'd still probably be doing it now if she could. We've already just relaunched and she's back in.
You know, one of the great things that you teach is it's a very simple concept of having an audience, building a tribe, creating an irresistible offer, either doing that for free or a small investment, and then assisting those people in moving forward and helping them in a bigger way, whether it's a 6-week program, 12-week, whatever you want to create. So very quickly, I reverse engineered your funnel. Saw that it was that simple, and I just replicated it. So last year I did either a 10-day or, I tested the model, 10 days, 8 days, 14 days. Irresistible offer, 6-week program. So that was my 90-day funnel. Duplicate, generate leads, build the tribe, irresistible offer, 6-week program, that's finished, and duplicate.
Great, fantastic. So, and talk to us about how you're doing, because one of the things, and I actually took this concept back from Joe. Joe, we built the model, Joe reverse engineered it, made it better, and then I learned as well. And, you know, one of the things that we did was we saw that there's a lot of changes in the Facebook landscape, particularly becoming paid marketing, becoming more expensive. And so if you're getting started and you don't have a traction, it can be quite expensive to get started.
Definitely.
What you've done is really powerful, and it takes more effort, it takes more energy, but it's paid great dividends, which is that you've now explored how to build groups and tribes and fan pages that then draw clients in. You don't have to give obviously the whole recipe for success here, but talk a few touch points. If someone's watching, they're looking to be able to build a following, they don't have money. That's
Okay.
the excuse they have.
Yeah.
You know, we both have been able to make money very easily without nothing to have it. But
Yes.
it's not actually that you don't need money to make money. You just need to know how to make money without money,
Yeah.
and then you can get started.
Sure.
Talk about how you can draw new customers in without having to spend money on ads.
Okay, so the whole concept is when you don't have a lot of money for paid marketing,
Yes.
and there is a lot of, for somebody just getting started, what they're going to hear is Facebook ads don't work,
Yeah.
Instagram ads don't work,
Yeah.
I've lost all this money in marketing, and we both know there is this period of time where you need to test the audience and test your product.
Yes. Yes.
Beside all of that, if you're not able to do that, very simple way to create an audience, and that is to help people.
Yeah.
And to be honest, Cal, the biggest lesson that I've learned from you, the biggest takeaway
This will be good.
from you, I'm tearing up, is previous to starting with you guys, I was ego driven.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I'll admit it. Cal, don't do it.
Stop it. Stop it. Yes.
But what I learned from you was to put that aside and to come from a place of love and servitude.
Yeah.
I learned that, I swear, on day 3 of the first 15-15. So, and that is the basis of my whole business model. There are so many people out there that need help and assistance, but the trick is to know where to find them.
Yeah.
So with the way my business was running, I had a list of 8,500 people on my email database, getting almost 1% open rate. So for me, it's like, well, I'm paying $100 a month to hold my database in a platform, and it's giving me 0 return. And not only that, no one's even bothering
Opening the emails.
Exactly, yeah. So apart from the fact that you can upload an email database to Facebook
Yes.
and advertise to them, what I realized was that people are hungry for information, and they're in Facebook groups searching for that kind of information. So the simple business model can be, if you don't already have an audience or if you don't have an online presence,
Yeah.
then go into several Facebook groups that your ideal audience is in. So
Yes.
for example, if you sell pet care products, you want to join all the I Love Chihuahuas groups.
Yeah,
For
It's like,
example.
where can you find your dream customer in the highest concentration? And
Yeah.
groups are a great example of that. You see, don't be in groups that you would be in. Be in groups that your audience would be in. It's a much better place to be.
But here's the thing. The marketing over the last couple of years has been, buy my product, here's my link, go to my store,
Yeah.
this is what I want you to do. The model that I created, that you taught me to create, was coming from a place of servitude.
Yes.
Is somebody asks a question in the group, you simply answer it.
Yeah.
And then the result of people are generally lazy. I'm not saying that in a derogatory sense. What I'm saying is they'll ask a question rather than go to Google,
Yes.
go to all the resources that everybody has.
Yes. Yeah.
So in order to be an expert on a topic or to be seen as an authority on a subject, it's a matter of finding people inside of Facebook groups that are looking for help with a problem that you can solve.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't know the answer to that particular question, use the resources we all have, go and find the answer, come back and give the person that exact answer.
Yeah.
And immediately you are the go-to person for help.
You know, it's so touching. It's funny how this is coming to me. On the weekend, Ash and I watched Pursuit of Happiness with Will Smith. It's one of my favorite films, and that's a hell of a story in and of itself. And in that, he does the job interview and he's covered in paint and you know, he doesn't have any suit on. And he says, look, I'll be pretty straight with you. He says, I'm the sort of guy that if you ask me a question and I don't know it, I'll tell you that I don't know it, but then I'll go and find the answer. And it's just being willing to, in these groups where people get so busy being busy, and everyone has the time, particularly if it's their own group, to respond to that message, but they just won't because life gets in the way.
Yeah.
But if you come from a place of how can I add more value than anybody else in this group, in this conversation, in this business, in this market, you'll win because you have to win because no one else really gives a shit that much.
That's right. And moving on from talking about the biggest lessons that I learned from you last year is when I ran my irresistible offer, you said to us to give everything, give absolutely everything. And so whether my program is 8 days or 14 days, that's what I give. The other thing you said either beginning of this year or last year was to treat every single person as if they're their highest paying client. And what that does is if you have an irresistible offer or a product, or you're able to help people and you've charged $27, their feeling is, wow, if I got all this for $27.
Imagine what I'd get if I spent a
Imagine.
couple of grand.
Yeah.
Big time.
So when I meet clients now for a coffee consult or a 30-minute chat, which can go for 2 hours,
Of course.
I'm fully present.
Yes.
I give them everything that I have. I don't say to them, well, if you want that info, this is my price. That's how I used to run. Broke. Yeah. But I had a great price.
Yeah.
Now I give them everything, and I tell my clients that. And I say to them, if we have a chat, I'll give you absolutely everything, and there's no obligation to move forward.
Yeah.
But as is happening, you know, a couple of weeks later, they call me and they go, yeah, you're the honesty and the integrity, and coming from a place of servitude, everything that I've learned working with YWS and crewing as well, seeing all of that.
Yeah.
That's my business model, and that's what people are looking for now.
I think there's so many beautiful wisdoms in what Joe's shared there, and we do say a lot, so I didn't even know I'd said half of those things. But you know, people think what they want is more information, and then you give them that information, and turns out it's actually not what they needed. What they actually needed was they needed somebody to hold their hand and walk them through the process. And so we'll often say that content is cheap. It's easy to give you all the plans. We can show you exactly, then Joe could map out exactly what she did from day one to now, or how she made all this money, and the reality is people wouldn't do it, right? Because it's not about knowing what to do. There's a whole heap of things we know what to do. People know going to the gym is going to be good for their health. They still don't go, because it's then having someone either through accountability or support or designing things that are tailored for them. People really pay for implementation. And if you say, you're going to pay me 30 grand or 50 grand to implement what I've just told you, people go, I'll never pay that. But that's where the real wealth is. It's not in knowing, cool, I know I can build a Facebook group or create a meetup group or import an audience. It's knowing that you've got somebody there that's going to make sure you get it done. Because knowledge without implementation is just, it's a hobby.
That's right, It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Share with me, if you will, what drives you as a business owner? There's plenty of away from motivation, but I'm sure you've got some great examples of customers that are now doing amazing things. So tell me, what's getting you out of bed on a morning, particularly on those days where are really difficult? What's the thing that you've sort of focused your attention on?
For me, my drive comes from wanting to help other people. So coming from an affiliate marketing background where it's buy, here's my link, otherwise I'm not interested in talking to you, to learning, having that mindset shift, working with you last year, and then also getting to the point where I decided to leave Denmark. So I lived in Denmark for 21 years, and last November, December was up and down, and one day I'm coming, next day I'm not. And I remember I was back in Denmark around about November. I'd just come back from working with you for a week, one of the leadership programs. And what I realized was that as well as my business was going down south, and that was my home, my friends, the familiar place for me, I realized that there were so many more people in Perth that needed help. And so that was the pivotal moment when I decided to move to Perth, because I could help other people. So fast forward to January, moving to Perth, and started kind of not a new business model, but a new concept. Because my business had mostly been online through Skype, and that was great. But I remember those client calls, and I would be, I have to speak to. Okay. It's kind of mindset. And it wasn't that it was boring. I guess looking back now, there was no human touch. So now that I'm in Perth and I do free coffee consults, business consults, I've gone, wow, this is amazing. I absolutely love sitting one-on-one with somebody, listening to where they're stuck, and offering them solutions without expecting anything back in return. So moving to Perth, and so what I've actually found is I had an okay business model before, but through everything that I've learnt and all the time I've spent with you, even on the weekend, what I've now been able to realize is that I am living my true passion, my absolute true passion. And in saying that, I woke up the other day, and it's not, okay, I need to do 2 hours doing this, I need to read my book, I need to do some study and make some calls. my day started with, great, 10 o'clock I'm meeting Lisa, 12 o'clock I've got Roger, and 4 o'clock I've got a coaching call. And to me, that put the smile on my face. And it was at that moment, this is only last week, I was like, you know what, I've nailed it. Absolutely nailed in being able to do what I love doing every day of the week. And for me to create a program or create a funnel, and also, you know, I've got my Facebook group where I give give the people in the group everything I've got, so that they can turn and realize that they too can do this.
There's so many beautiful things that you just shared there. One of the things I want everyone to listen in on is specifically, and even if you need to rewind the video, is in that beautiful piece from Joe, not once we talk about money.
No.
And I think that there's two things to remember here. One, some people might listen to the way that Joe communicates about adding value, particularly if you've not worked with us before, and you might say that that's naive, or you might say that you're missing the point of business, or that you know, you're going to not profit as well as you should, and that's bullshit. But what is important is that if you have the right structure, as in an ascension model, free content, an elegant business model, irresistible offer, core and premium offers, when you have that, you don't need to worry about it anymore.
No. Because
then the work does itself and helps the client upgrade from there. If you don't have that and you do all the fluff on the front end and all of the beautiful conversations, then it's what my dad used to tell me about when I was in real estate, he called it cappuccino selling. I never wanted to go and have to do a serious listing presentation. I wanted to sit with a homeowner, have coffee, talk about their goals, what they wanted to achieve, and I just assumed that if we had that relationship, then the contract would be signed, but that didn't work in real estate. Whereas it does really work in this model when you have the right model, because people go, I really enjoy your company. You give me great value. No one else gives a shit. I've got more results with you than I have with anybody else. Let's do more together. And as the client gets more results, they get more money. As they get more money, they're going to do more stuff with you. You being a perfect example, you didn't have the money to do the program. You came back with less than the cost. But then as a result, you've done all the things that we have. So if you get the business model part right, then let the structure take care of itself, and it'll naturally happen by just doing the front content piece. And one of the things that I love about the way that I designed the model in the beginning for me was that it's frustrating and it's anxiety driving and it's worrying, always think about, oh my God, I've got to make all these different sales. What we like to do is just go, cool, we know clients are going to follow through. We know there's a certain progression percentage. So instead, just focus on doing the front end. Because if you do the front end well, then the model will naturally upgrade if you have the right conversation strategically, and it'll happen. But when you realize that it's not about the money and you've got the right structure to make money, that's very important. When you have that, the money takes care of itself, which is really beautiful. Let's change direction a little bit.
Okay.
Talk about some of the personal development work that you do. Obviously, your journey with YWS and Amplify started in a business arena. A lot of clients do start there because they go, I want to make money, and then they don't realize a lot of things holding them back from making money is actually the personal stuff that holds them back. You came and did self-mastery. It's the hardest program I have to try and explain what people get, because it's so diverse. You don't know if someone's going to come along that have got past trauma, or someone that just got self-sabotage or a fear of failure, or someone that just learns to communicate better with their spouse. There's so much they could get. What was your journey in self-mastery like? You've done it twice now, once as a participant, and then you come back and you repeated it again. Share.
My journey in self-mastery, I think, was being able to give yourself those 3 days. In our busy lives, you know, it's so easy to say, well, I'm reading a book, so I'm doing personal development.
Or doing free seminars and all that.
Or your workplace might put some things on once a month, so you're doing personal development. But it's a matter of going to an event very, very quickly. Within 15-20 minutes, you stipulate you need to be 100% here. Let everything go and just be here, because you owe it to yourself. And so when you're able to have that shift and say, okay, cool, I've done this, I paid the money, whatever the result is going to be, and just open yourself up to whatever comes your way. So not having any expectations. Leave your ego at the door, and also whatever you think you want to break through, the chances are that's not what you're going to break through.
Never is. It never is.
Coming back a second time, I absolutely loved it the most. I think because The first one, there were exercises, there was internal reflection, there were kind of like, there was a little bit of work to do on the inside. And I think for me in particular, I think I went day 1 and 2 where I was going, well, I'm not sure what I want to shift. And that's okay as well. You don't have to come in with an agenda.
Yeah.
But coming back as a participant, I actually, on a personal level, got so much more out of seeing other people's journeys and being a part of that.
Yeah.
Because when I saw one particular shift, it cemented it in my mind of, oh, wow, okay, so that's achievable. Or by watching somebody go through a shift, I also went through a shift inside as well.
Absolutely. Jim Rohn talks about that. He says, when you're a speaker, as we both are, he says 2 things can happen. The speaker can transform, but so can the audience.
Yeah.
And what we always say to anybody, and this is just a caveat, if you will, of doing self-mastery, is that please be aware that it's addictive. Because because when you have an experience, not only we can go into the hormones of this, but the real essence of it is when you sit down with somebody like we are here, and I share or Joe shares something, and I have a transformation in that process, and maybe I've got internal blocks or barriers, and I know you did parts integration really well in the last one, and that frees you up. Now you're not taking 1 step forward, 2 steps back. Now you've got, holy shit, I saw it before my very eyes from reading a script that I only just learned 10 minutes ago. I read the script, the person went through this transformation, they've now completely transformed the way that they think and view the world. When you experience that, whether that be the first time, second time, or 10th time, you go, wow, I can make an impact in somebody's life. And I don't need to be perfect. I could have stuttered and splurred my speech. I didn't need to know all of the information. But if I just come from the heart, if I'm present, as you talk about, and if I follow the structure, that I can actually make such a difference in people's lives.
Yeah.
When you do that, you just want to keep doing it again and again and again.
Yes, definitely. The other thing you guys are really great at build at, especially in self-mastery, is the community.
Yes.
So the first one I did in August, I have a handful of friends that we still catch up and talk with, and obviously through the way you network, they're also like-minded business people.
Yes.
But that community and the relationships that you build moves on. And we haven't touched on this yet, but a very important thing when you have your own business is to spend time with like-minded people.
Yeah.
So you have that support and the network and the accountability that I've created. And to look at who you're spending most of your time with. If they're not serving you on a holistic sense or in a personal sense, regardless of business sense, then you need to look at who you're hanging out with.
It's perfect you bring it up, because I was going to talk about this, and Joe's story is evidence of that in and of itself, and that is, we always say there are 2 things to be successful long-term, whatever it is. One, you need consistency, and one, you need proximity. So you can be consistent in doing the wrong things, but if you're in proximity with people that are making more money than you, or got a better health than you, better relationships, or just a better quality of life in general, then you'll start to elevate that. And you just be around them and you'll pick it up. And Joe's a fantastic student in the sense that leaves the ego at the door, has done that from the very beginning with us, but it comes back, accrues, be's involved, is in all the groups, is engaging, and by doing that you get more, but you also share more, and you become the glue in the group, which is fantastic. But there's a lot of courage that comes from leaving Albany and Denmark to wanting to go, cool, I've got proximity, I've got accountability here and consistency, but I know I'm the biggest fish in the smallest pond. I want to go to another level. And this is why we both love travel, but why I recommend to all young people to get out there and travel is that you realize that we live in a much bigger world than at times we believe we're in. And there's so many more opportunities out there, that not to dismantle the opportunities we have available to us, but also to appreciate that if we're dealing with challenges, it's only as big as the challenges that we're dealing with. In your experience, and this is not just with YWS, but across the board, what would you say is the biggest lesson you'd like to share with somebody that's watching this, that is obviously a business owner, they're looking to get started, they're maybe in a position where they don't have money, or they think they didn't have money until they heard the story that we shared. What would be the one thing that you would share with them that could help them move the needle in their lives?
Okay. The one thing I could share with across the board is implementation. And it can be as simple as 15 minutes a day.
Yeah.
You know, add up 15 minutes a day to the end of the 7 days, and you've then got a block of time that you've spent to build on your business.
Yeah, it's a couple of hours.
Yeah, and you know, as we both know, clients come on board and they don't tend to take action, or they don't tend to implement.
Yeah.
So it's that struggle between helping them realize you can achieve this regardless of your age, regardless of, you know, like we see so many young crew online
Yes.
that are absolutely kicking goals.
Yeah.
And for some of us who are in the best part of our lives, you know, you can look back and reflect on that and say, well, I'm not that age. I'm not that, you know, well, I don't want to say unattractive. What am I trying to say?
You don't fit the mold.
Yeah, don't fit the mold. But
Yeah.
the proof is in the pudding that you don't need to fit any particular mold.
Agreed.
Because the minute you're trying to fit into a mold, you're not being the true sense of you.
100%.
And so you're trying to deliver something you think is going to sell, rather than delivering something that you can help other people with.
I want to just touch on that as well, because I think that, you know, we so the business was originally called Young and Wildly Successful. It's now YWS Global, and there was a real change. There's a reason for that. One, when we used to say Young and Wildly Successful, I used to have messages nearly every day from people that were in their 40s or 50s or 60s, sometimes even in their 70s, saying, "Calvin, I'm not young, but and then I would always hear old and mildly successful." And so we just changed it to YWS, because YWS for me anyway was never actually about being young and wildly successful. It was about combating the opposite of that belief, which was that I'm young so I can't do these things. Now, in the last 5 years, now it's like, shit, if you're young you have to be doing it. And then there's a whole heap of people that are older. I was just reading a book, I might even have it behind me here. It's called Homojuice, this one here. I've taken the cover off because I was reading on the plane, but Homojuice, and it was basically talking, it's a tome, the book. You wouldn't want to be hit with it. But it was basically talking about how if you are living in this world today and you're a man watching this and you're 40 years old today, it used to be 75 was the life expectancy of a man.
Yeah.
Today, 103 if you're a 40-year-old male.
Wow.
They believe that, from the book, that if you live to 2050, which is not that long around the corner from now, if you live to 2050 and you've got enough money, you'll be able to buy the best medical science available at the time to advance your life by another decade. And then in that decade, there'll be so much more advances in medical technology that you'll be able to go again. So realistically, being 27, I'm at least living to 120, right? And you know, people talk about this. We were just joking before. My gran just recently retired. She's now 73, but she's on social. She's on Facebook. She's running ads. She's got an art business. She's busier now than when she was fully working.
Yeah.
If you thought about that and said, well, I'm 70, I can't get this online stuff. Well, I've got, and you've met Roy as well.
Yeah.
You know, Roy McDonald. This is a guy, he's 71 years old, has 70 companies, makes $1 million a week. He came along to one of our events about online marketing. And I said, Roy, mate, with respect, you're 70 and you're making $1 million a week, and you do hundreds of millions of dollars in property transactions, you don't need what I'm sharing with you. And he says, Calvin, I'm living to 103 is his goal. He says, I'm going to live to at least 103. He says, I've got at least 30 years to figure this stuff out.
Yeah.
And I don't think people fully appreciate that if you are north of, some people even say, north of 30.
Yeah.
But if you're in your 40s or if you're in your 50s, you've realistically got at least double your entire life to figure it out. And you have what I don't have, or at least what I didn't have when I got started, which was the life experience to have an understanding of people. Marketing, no matter if it was done via print or via radio or now via digital, is about understanding human beings and getting them to take action. No better experience than if you're a mom or a dad or a grandparent to understand you've had the experience of doing that.
Yeah.
I think way too many people use age, whether they're too young or too old, as an ace card to try and get out of actually going, you know what, have a crack. You've got 30 years. It might take you a little bit longer than my 12-year-old cousin that was brought up on an iPad, for sure. But you still have enough time in the game to figure it out and win.
Yeah.
Because what blew my mind was, in the world we live in today, 7 billion people. Of the 7 billion, there's only 2.5 billion that actually have access to the internet.
Oh, really?
So there's still 4.5 billion people in the world today that have no access. Most of India, most of Africa, most of Asia, most of China don't have access to reliable internet.
Yeah.
So you can imagine if there's all of these big opportunities and these big names today with 2.5 billion on it, imagine when the other 4.5 billion get on board, and they will in the next 2 decades, what that changes to e-commerce. You figure it out, you win.
Yeah, definitely.
Stunning.
Definitely. Yeah,
Stunning.
Yeah.
Tell me, what's next for you?
What's next for me? I am going to continue to work with the amazing clients that I have. Each one of them has completely diverse business models, which keeps it really exciting for me. I keep saying to them, ask me questions, because it stimulates me.
Yes, yeah.
I'm going to continue to hold meetups in Perth and to assist people in anything that they need.
Nice.
And create some more online products. I've got a couple of things in the pipeline.
Yeah.
Next year, I know is going to be an incredible year for me. So it's all about being able to impact more people more often.
Yeah.
So really looking forward to that.
I love that. Guys, if you want to find out more about Jo, you can check her out. The Driven to Impact, so Driven and then the number 2, Impact, is where you can find Jo. Yeah, peace. Two. Peace and 2, as opposed to this. So yeah, check her out online as well. Follow her journey. By the time you see this, she's probably done, I don't know, maybe 50K day, and is scaling from there as well. So please reach out and connect. Jo, thanks so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. Guys, if there's anything that we can do to help, we would love to be able to support and to serve, and whether that's some of our free material, whether that's 1515 or a self-mastery program. I'd say everyone should do self-mastery across the board as a prerequisite for success, but we'd love to be able to support and help as well, in the same way that we're able to do for Jo. Thank you so much.
Thank you, from the bottom of my heart.
Oh, you're very welcome.